in May, sent the documents to the Electoral Commission and the Chief Elections Officer. And the intention was to have received from them, and by the end of June, their observations with regards to the bills that were sent to them. Since then, they have written to me, that's to say, the chairman of the commission wrote to me, indicating that they will need more time and requesting that deadline be extended to the end of July of this year. I was a bit disappointed because we wanted to advance it in end of June, but it's a reasonable request. And I believe that hearing from them is a very important consideration. That we need to hear from the Electoral Commission of their views in terms of the observations of the bills, because the Constitution says that we would have to bring it to the attention. Now, bring it to the attention is not that they can direct us, but I feel that it's important for us to hear from them. And so I have accepted their request for the extension to end of July. And what I have said to other stakeholders, while we will not send you the reports, the bills directly to you and so on, what we have done is to place it on the government website. At the same time, it was sent, just a couple of days after it was sent to the Electoral Commission. And anybody in Dominic, any organization in Dominic, any group in Dominic can have access to this legislature's bills and also submit the observations to the Attorney General. So if you read the bills and you say, okay, well, Honorable AJ, I accept ABCD, but E and F, I have issue with it, and I would suggest that you include this and that in it, then we can look at it. But instead, the opposition wants to go and create, their whole intention is to see whether they can have regime change. They can have a 1979 situation and government change, and they come into government by default in a surreptitious manner. You understand? That's the intention. Now, when they speak privately, the same organization and the opposition elements speak privately, they will say, well, the bills have 95% of what we want, the bills have it. But what's the 95% you're talking about? Why don't you tell the public, okay, well, I've read the bill and I agree with A, B, C, D, F, G. You've never heard them say they agree with anything in it when they speak publicly. You understand? I heard, for example, they're talking about fingerprints and all this thing. There's not going to be fingerprints for voter ID card anymore. You don't need a fingerprint for a passport, which has a um, higher value. It's not going to violate people's fundamental rights and put all sorts of things in place to deny people the right to vote. No, it's not going to happen. If you have sensible views and points, send it to us. We're open. If you want to meet me, any organization want to meet me and to draw my attention to certain things respectfully, fine. I will not respond to any letter addressed to the office of the Prime Minister of Dominica from anybody or any principality, any organization that shows disrespect for the office of the Prime Minister. You will not hear from me. As a matter of fact, letters I get like that, I throw it in the dustbin. People have to respect. Yeah, forget about me. It's not about me. It's not about me. It's about the institution. It's about the institution. So I'm not gonna even act. I'm gonna read the document. Once I read the first letter, I see you disrespectful. First paragraph, I put aside. You understand? But if you want to meet with me, mutually respectful environment, and you respect me, I respect you, then we can talk. I'm prepared to talk. But the idea of going to Portsmouth and Marigot and State House and Grand Bay and Scott's Head and Vickers and different parts of Dominica to have widespread consultation, that's over. We have other things to do. We have other things to do. But if you have a view, then send it in writing. First, tell me what you agree. That's in the bill. Secondly, tell me what you don't agree in the bill, and what are your alternative suggestions. So, if you're genuinely concerned about electoral reform, but the reality is, they do not want electoral reform. They never want it. I've always said so publicly. They do not want it. They just want to use that as a point of discord and to let the international community believe. Because anytime you're in government for so long, as we have been, it's easy to talk about government tipping elections. Easy. So they want that as a low hanging fruit to be used and drum up. You understand? But we have spoken to CARICOM, we have spoken to OECS, we have spoken to the OAS, and in particular the OAS, and we've spoken to the Commonwealth. And they've told us that what we presented appeared to them to be reasonable. And based on their observations at the consultations, that the contents of the draft bills capture the consensus views of those consulted. You understand what I'm saying? Captured the consensus views of those. Now the issue of campaign financing, in principle, we support it. But when that was discussed at the CARICOM level and the OECS level, the heads of government, I resided heads of government to sort of see the guidance. There was a view by the heads of government in CARICOM. Look, this is a matter that should be dealt with from a regional standpoint because of the complexity of it. You understand? Because of the complexity of it, that they are the view that this should be handled at a regional level. As a matter of fact, there wasn't even a view that we should engage on further consultations on this and to see what kind of uniform legislation that we can bring to the table for consideration of the CARICOM heads of government on the issue of campaign finance because it's a very complex situation. It's a very complex, it's not straightforward stuff. Those who are not involved in politics believe it's straightforward, but it's not straightforward. This is why even in the United States, where you have such legislation, it gives the presidential candidates the opportunity to opt out of that arrangement, and they are allowed to raise as much money as they wish to. You understand? So we're not opposed to it in principle, but what we're saying is that one, that was never part of the original consideration where electoral reform is concerned, and secondly, that will not affect the fundamental points that were raised and that are addressed in the bills before the country now. And that's all we're saying. But the next round of discussions, you can look at it. Likewise, amendments to the Constitution. There's no need for us to go and amend the Constitution and go through a whole process of referendum or public consultation where electoral reform is concerned. We believe that we can achieve the desired objectives of electoral reform without tampering the Constitution. We intend to roll out, and very soon we'll appoint a commission once we pass the, the, the the electoral reform bills, we intend to appoint a commission that will look at constitutional reform. And we shall use the Telford Judges report and the Dr. Liverpool report as a base for consultation. So we're gonna use that to start off. And then whatever new elements that will come up to add to what we have, because both the Telford Judges and the Dr. Liverpool report are pretty comprehensive, in nature and scope. But we'll put it to the public. And so the commission that will be appointed will use those two documents and present to the public and whatever additional views that will come out. And we have a final document that we believe that we can take to the public for consideration, where a constitutional reform is concerned, because we believe that it is important that we have constitutional reform, especially approaching our 50th anniversary of independence.
The purpose of electoral reform is to develop and continuously improve an electoral process that is fit for the purpose of free and fair election of government of the people, by the people, for the people.
We have come up based on the consultation with what we believe are the elements to take to the parliament to address the concerns of the population where electoral reform is concerned. And this is what we have presented.
Electoral reform is not what Roosevelt Skerritt decides he needs to normalize corrupt election practices and thereby protect his legacy of stealing elections in Dominica. In July of 2022, after more than 15 years of sustained advocacy for electoral reform, the Caribbean Court of Justice, or highest court, confirmed that we had a tainted electoral process in need of urgent attention. The court said, and I quote, "There remain grave areas of concern about how the process of these 2019 elections were conducted. Future elections in Dominica ought not to proceed with these or similar taints." Skerritt claims the proposed new and revised election laws have the blessing of the organizations he invited to observe the electoral reform consultations?
We have spoken to CARICOM, we have spoken to OECS, we have spoken to the OAS, and in particular the OAS, and we've spoken to the Commonwealth. And they've told us that what we presented appeared to them to be reasonable. And based on their observations at the consultations, that the contents of the draft bills capture the consensus views of those consulted.
In the absence of hearing from the observers themselves, we are unable to believe a word Skerrit says. He's probably lying, as he usually does. The proposed new and revised election laws do not address the critical matter of removing the taints on the electoral process or changing the rules to clear the way for free and fair elections in Dominica. So how could these election observer organizations agree with what Skerrit is bringing to the House? How could they agree? Citizens who are not ordinarily resident in Dominica voting for representation in the Parliament of Dominica is a taint on the electoral process of Dominica. Not having an accurate list of voters who are eligible based on the constitutional requirements of citizenship, age, and residency is a taint on the electoral process of Dominica. A system for electing government in Dominica should not allow for citizens living overseas who are not ordinarily resident in Dominica to be paid to come home to vote to determine the results in constituencies where they do not live and therefore cannot be represented. It is not fair. Voter fraud is a taint on the electoral process. Voting multiple times, voting in the name of the dead, or voting with false identities have no place in our system for electing government. According to the recommendations from the $750,000 electoral reform consultancy of Dennis Byron, the introduction of voter identification cards to persons registered as electors, supported with biometric data, facial recognition, fingerprints, was considered one of the most important reforms by almost everyone. This was regarded as essential to eliminate or minimize a wide variety of fraudulent conduct at elections, including impersonation and multiple voting. That is what the consultant found. And so he made recommendations accordingly. Skerrit wants his own kind of ID card.
I heard, for example, they're talking about fingerprints and all this thing. There's not going to be fingerprints for voter ID card in Norway. You don't need a fingerprint for a passport, which has a higher value. How going to violate people's fundamental rights and put all sorts of things in place to deny people the right to vote? No, it's not going to happen.
And he does not want the law to specify the information that should be on the card. He wants to leave it up to the puppet he will appoint as chief elections officer after his new electoral commission bill sets the retirement age for that position at 55. Tampering with ballots, altering vote counts, unlawful recounts, other forms of direct manipulation of the voting process have no place in our system for electing government. Offering money, gifts, or other incentives to voters or election officials in exchange for votes or favorable treatment is wrong and must be removed from our electoral system. The payment of air and sea transportation for voters living overseas and the payment of free entertainment for voters are major crimes that have determined the outcome of elections over the past 20 years. This legislation does not address that. The regulation of election campaign financing is necessary because money cannot be allowed to have controlling influence in our political system such that elections can be determined and or purchased by big money interests or criminal enterprises. Skerrit totally discarded the campaign finance recommendations of the Dennis Byron consultancy, but he says he supports regulation.
Now, the issue of campaign financing, in principle, we support it.
He's lying again. He said campaign finance regulation was about giving political parties money to campaign from the public purse. He had his party advocates repeating the lie throughout the electoral reform consultation and angrily protesting against campaign finance regulation.
But when that was discussed at the CARICOM level and the OECS level, the heads of government, I resided heads of government to sort of see the guidance. There was a view by the heads of government in CARICOM, look, this is a matter that should be dealt with from a regional standpoint.
Using state resources such as public funds or government operated facilities to support a particular candidate or party is wrong and should be eliminated from our system of electing government in Dominica. Skewed or unfair media coverage that disproportionately favors one candidate or party over others, potentially influencing public perception and voting behavior, is a taint on our electoral process. Our system of electing government should be protected from the use of state-sponsored or other threats, violence, or acts of intimidation against voters, candidates, or election officials to influence the election outcome, as happened especially in Salisbury and Marigot during the 2019 elections. Nothing has been done to remove these taints. We, the people, have a duty to oppose and prevent enactment of any new and revised election laws that do not address the need for free and fair elections. And no, Roosevelt Skerritt, this is not about your new romance of 1979.
Their whole intention is to see whether they can have regime change. You know, they can have a 1979 situation and government change, and they come into government by default in a surreptitious manner.
Indeed, we have a duty to oppose and to prevent normalization of the formula of unlawful and corrupt electoral conduct that has been engaged to steal elections in Dominica. We fully accept our collective responsibility to ensure free and fair elections, without which, as the CCJ has cautioned, the consequences will include loss of legitimacy, public unrest, and even revolt. You are provoking the people to revolt for their democratic rights, and you need to stop it.
Sweet Calypso.
I want people to listen. So let us interrupt the talking, listen now. I will tell you when to answer. Is that all right? Let's go power. You do power? Come. Dominicans, friends, not so much good friends, countrymen. I came to bury Caesar, not to praise him. And I want you to help me do that. Is that all right? Good. We are not doing it in secret. I heard the man told his people that they are whispering in secret, but he will wipe them off the NEP. We're not doing that in secret. Are you all with me still? Right. We want to be bold and brazen about what we're doing tonight. That's why you came. So listen to what the ERC is dealing with on your behalf. Because we want to walk down Freedom Street without anybody pointing their guns at us. We welcome the police. In fact, if you are a policeman, you will hear, especially those of you with your cameras, I invite you to come from. And please record the video. Take it to the places where it must go, because you too, we're fighting for you. All of you police officers, and you know that, we are fighting for you too. Because your police force is in a mess because of malgovernance. So here I go, ladies and gentlemen. The people of the Commonwealth of Dominica have been demanding electoral reform since 2005. And whereas Roosevelt Skerritt and his cabinet have caught tear gas and live rounds of ammunition to rain on the people of Salisbury and has threatened the people of Maryland using the regional security system 2 days before the 2019 general elections. And whereas Roosevelt's carried flashed the report on electoral reform presented by a group of persons representing civil society organizations, along with learned Dominican legal drafters. And whereas Roosevelt's carried paid about $700,000 to tourist Dennis Byron and wanted to cajole the then opposition leader, Lennox Clinton, to agree with everything that Byron would have recommended in his report. And then he threw the report. And whereas Roosevelt carried in his cabinet decided to appoint the Attorney General and others, we don't know what he would have done, to draft the current bill that he proposes to bring to the House without regard and respect to the population. And whereas Roosevelt carried himself disagrees with the law to the extent that he says to Curtis Matthew, he don't know conservation in Birmingham and England and in US. And whereas Electoral Reform Coalition has written to Roosevelt carried on numerous occasions in his capacity as Prime Minister, and he does not have the decency to acknowledge, far less respond to meet with the citizens of Dominica. And whereas Roosevelt carried has hijacked the constitutional responsibility of the Electoral Reform Commission and has single-handedly taken over the electoral process. And he has told us that he has other fish to fry. Alienated by the Attorney General. And whereas, ladies and gentlemen, all indications are that Roosevelt's carried is planning another reset. And whereas you and the people of Dominica have fed up with the constant kicking down of the can of electoral reform by Roosevelt's carried, be it resolved that the people gathered here, the people's parliament, agree that the following, which will be formulated in legal draft and will be in legislative form to be tabled in Parliament, covering all the areas herein after mentioned. And these are the areas, ladies and gentlemen. Number one, the right to vote. Consistent with the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen, the law we want is that only persons who are ordinarily resident in Dominica should be eligible to vote in elections in Dominica. Everybody say, I agree. No more happens. Number two, voter ID cards. Every eligible voter shall be issued a voter's identification card produced by the Electoral Commission and will contain photograph, fingerprints, ID number, voter registration number, polling district, voter name and address. The security features on the card cannot be at the discretion of the chief registering officer and must be the requirements in the law or the proposed regulation. Do you agree? Number three, registration and confirmation of voters. Roosevelt said that really was on that one. The process of registration and reconfirmation of voters shall only be conducted in Dominica within a 3-month period during which no election shall be called. Electability to be registered or reconfirmed shall be those already enshrined in the existing law, and that is citizenship, Commonwealth status, and residency. Do you agree? Number 4, bribery and tricking. The law proposes that the amended House of Assembly Elections Bill must specify, yes, it must specify that free musical concerts and similar events featuring international artists by political parties, their agents and candidates are acts of tricking. With respect to the offense of bribery, the bill must provide for the avoidance of doubt that the payment of promise to pay to a voter or his traveling expenses on the condition, expressed or implied, that he will vote for a particular candidate is bribery. And there must be a compulsory prison term of not less than 2 years for bribery, tricking, and undue influence. D'accord. Campaign finance regulation. I don't know who is that. Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ears. I came to bury Caesar, not to praise him. Campaign finance regulation. My brothers and sisters, one of the best pieces of law that Dennis Byron wrote is on campaign finance regulation. That's why Roosevelt carried track living. We want that back in the law. We want to know where the money comes from and who gave you the money. Because we understand that people buying elections those days to get what they want. Do you want that back in the law? Number 6, abuse of incumbency. Let me tell you what that means. When people in government using government resources to pay people at many elections, that's what abuse of incumbency is. You hear that? Of course, that's a word. We are making provisions to strictly prohibit public officers, the resources of the state, and projects resulting from the expenditure of public funds as campaign tools to corruptly, improperly, and unduly influence voters and thereby gain political advantage. Little jobs every here and there. Those little wallets and those bags with those money that coming in those private means, that's what we're talking about. Do you agree? Access to media. And I'm so happy to see it. The House of Assembly Elections Bill must provide for access to all media for all political parties. That all public media houses, thank you, print, radio, TV, digital and electronic, are prohibited from denying any political party or candidate paid time and or space for the broadcast or publication of their messages. Public media ladies and gentlemen, DBS et al., all these houses must be legally obliged to ensure that political parties and any independent candidates participating in elections have equal access to media services during election campaign period. And if they don't, penalties must be prescribed for failure to comply with the rules. Else, so d'accord. There's a big one down. Foreign interference. Foreign interference. Foreign persons, companies or governments, citizenship sales agents, and holders of government contracts, financed especially by the CI, are expressly prohibited from participating in election campaigns and contributing either directly or indirectly to any candidate or party during a general election. Are we in agreement? Number 9, the Electoral Commission. Some of what I said in number 8 refers to the Electoral Commission as well, so I won't read that. In other words, all the citizenship by investment agents on the Electoral Commission must be fired immediately because they have a stake with the government. It cannot be fair. It cannot be fair. The appointment and nomination to members on this commission should be selected from academia, civil society, church-based organizations, and it must have at least one woman body. Do you agree? That one going to give somebody high blood pressure. Because in the current law, they say they will pass it, but they want to wait 15 months before it gets effective. Because they are starting anxiety during the 15 months. You're hearing me? Good. So number 10, the effective date of the legislation that must be passed in Parliament that will encompass all of that, ladies and gentlemen, should be no more than 3 months after the passing of the legislation. Do we agree? Now here's where I need your support. All of you. And next time you bring in your name, your power, your compare, your duty, your goal, your P, I don't know what name you call it. Just tell them you come and with me. You all understand what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, be it further resolved, and I take my time to read that. Be it further resolved that the completed legislation will be delivered to Parliament on a date and time agreeable to the people of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Can I have a yes? So when we're ready, we're going to call you. Don't call me and ask me to pay your boss for you. No, I don't somebody here. Once we call you, get a ride. Check your partner. Make a connection to put these slogans. And make sure all of you come down road. You hear that? All of you come down road. Right now we have the police busy. It's 10 days to be busy. You understand what I'm talking about? It's 10 days to be busy. Because we want to make sure that we hand the Parliament the legislation that we want. It is not going to be legislation that they want. It is going to be legislation that we want. You know why? Because the legislation that they want is a biased legislation. Pardon. What we are proposing, when it's passed, hear me, we don't care who wins. Once it is passed and we submit to it, let the best man win. But the reason why they fight the legislation is because they know when it is here, they cannot win. That's why we need all you. Can I get a yes? Now, let me tell you, I want you to go upstairs tonight. But this is the house of the people. All of you understand? So, I'm going to move the resolution, Mr. Chairman. If all of you agree with all the pieces of legislation that I just passed and announced to you, all of you lift your hand and say, yeah. Because the eyes of it. The deal have been passed.
Clean, sanitize, and disinfect with Clean and White bleach. Clean and White. Purchase any Clean and White bleach at any supermarket for a chance to win an 800-gallon water tank or $1,000 shopping voucher. To enter the draw, WhatsApp your name and picture of the receipt to 615-3215. Promotion ends Friday, July 26, 2024.
Join us every Monday, beginning July 15th, 2024, for our new radio show entitled Peaceology State.
The vision of Peaceology State is to increase involvements and help improve conditions of peace on individual, family, group, community, national, regional, international, and other levels.
The show will be hosted by founder of Peaceology and the world's first peaceologist, Dr. Peter K.B. St. John.
Co-hosted by his daughter, university journalism student Patrice K.B. St. John.
Dr. St. John defines peaceology as the science and practice of low stress and high joy.
Peaceology State seeks to increase experiences of low stress and high joy among as many people as possible. Again, join us every Monday 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Caribbean Time on Q95 Radio, the big station.
For you, for you, for you, for you, for you.
Ride the storms. Ride the storms. Q95.
In this hot summer, D&D Plumbing is doing it again. It's the Points and Deals Bonanza from June 10th to July 31st. The more you buy, the more points you get, the more discounts you receive. Get to 25 points and you get 10% discount. From 35 to 40 points, you receive 12.5% discount. And from 45 to 50 points, you get 15% discount. The more times you purchase, the more discounts you receive. Come to D&D today and purchase anything store-wide and get your card with 5 points already on it. And the more points you get, the more discounts you receive. And your bonus only for the month of June is the Drain Buster. Get your Drain Buster today and enjoy 10% discount. D&D Plumbing. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, Dominic, it's already 1:48. We are reviewing some statements made this week by the Prime Minister and others in civic organizations, including the ERC. When you heard from the Prime Minister, he seemed convinced that these groups, including the ERC, are calling for electoral reform, but they don't really want it. Listen to him again for emphasis. Listen again to PM Skerrit. Listen.
What we have done is to place it on the government website. At the same time, it was sent, just a couple days after it was sent, they were sent to the Electoral Commission. And anybody in Dominic, any organization in Dominic any group in Dominica can have access to this legislation, to these bills, and also submit the observations to the Attorney General. So if you read the bills and you say, okay, well, Honorable AJ, I accept ABCD, but E and F, I have issue with it, and I would suggest that you include this and that in it, then we can look at it. But instead, the opposition wants to go and create, their whole intention is to see whether they can have regime change. You know, they can have a 1979 situation and government change, and they come into government by default in a surreptitious manner. You understand? That's the intention. Now, when they speak privately, the same organization and the opposition elements speak privately, they will say, well, you know, the bills have 95% of what we want, the bills have it. But what's the 95% you're talking about? Why don't you tell the public, okay, well, I've read the bill and I agree with A, B, C, D, F, G. You've never heard them say they agree with anything in it when they speak publicly. You understand? I heard, for example, they're talking about fingerprints and all this thing. There's not going to be fingerprints or voter ID card anymore. You don't need a fingerprint for a passport, which has a higher value. I'm not going to violate people's fundamental rights and put all sorts of things in place to deny people the right to vote. No, it's not going to happen. If you have sensible views and points, send it to us. We're open. If you want to meet me, any organization want to meet me and to draw my attention to certain things respectfully, fine. I will not respond to any letter addressed to the office of the Prime Minister of Dominica from anybody or any principality, any organization that shows disrespect for the office of the Prime Minister. You will not hear from me. As a matter of fact, letters I get like that, I throw it in the dustbin. People have to respect. Yeah, forget about me. It's not about me. It's not about me. It's about the institution. It's about the institution. So I'm not going to even act. I'm going to read the document. Once I read the first letter and I see you're disrespectful, first paragraph, I put aside. You understand? But if you want to meet with me, you know, mutually respectful environment, and you respect me, I respect you, then we can talk. I'm prepared to talk. But the idea of going to Portsmouth and Marigot and State House and Grand Bay and Scotshead and Vickers and different parts of Dominica to have widespread consultation, that's over. We have other things to do. We have other things to do. But if you have a view, then send it in writing. First, tell me what you agree. That's in the bill. Secondly, tell me what you don't agree in the bill. And what are your alternative suggestions? So, if you're genuinely concerned about electoral reform. But the reality is, they do not want electoral reform. They never wanted it. I've always said so publicly.
From what I heard of the Prime Minister's speech, I can't find a proper word to describe it, and I explain why. The Prime Minister has always been in the habit of disrespecting people. Now, one of the things that I've learned is that respect is earned. And the thing about earned respect is that when you earn your respect, you don't have a challenge with people who attempt to disrespect you. When you force respect, then guess what? You will always have to be looking for areas that people disrespect you. Having said that, I proofread all the letters that went to the Prime Minister. Written very well by a professional, I believe, and overviewed by every one of us in ERC. None of us would send a letter to the Prime Minister to disrespect him. However, we all know that whether it's Mr. Skerrit or the followers of the Labour Party, there are two things that are common. Once you disagree with Mr. Skerrit and or the Labour Party, you either hate the country or you hate the Prime Minister. And the word disrespect comes from the Prime Minister very, very frequently. It seems that everybody may have disrespect the Prime Minister once you ask him for something and you are not supporting his side. As president of the Evangelical Association, we have written dozens of letters to the Prime Minister's office. He has not responded to one. In fact, I was very surprised when one of the letters that was written to him was carbon copied to another ministry. And the ministry responded acknowledging that they got the letter. The Prime Minister to this date hasn't responded. And some very important letters. Whether it's letters regarding our view on what we think is a discriminating vice in the Constitution with regard to ministers of religion contesting elections and being a member of parliament, or letters concerning the Samoa Agreement, where we sent him a dossier expressing our views and so on. The Prime Minister doesn't respond. Now, how do you call that? That's gross disrespect, not to even acknowledge a letter. And the Prime Minister is in the habit of doing that once he thinks, whether he knows so or not, once he thinks that you do not support his views. And candidly, any leader who thinks that everybody must support their views is on the charts. Because if you're leading any community, Matt, I have my family, I deal with my children, and all of them don't always agree with each other, and they don't always agree with me, but they're my children. And because I lead them, I provide leadership that will love them even if we disagree. So you can disagree without being disagreeable. Mr. Skerrit is disagreeable, and he will disagree with you and thinks that he throws cold water on you. Well, let me add something quickly to show the attitude of the gentleman who's sitting in the office of Prime Minister, which is unfortunate, but that's what we have. The Prime Minister said that what the people want is regime change. I think in the same address, Matt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, what is wrong with regime change? I mean, who are you to think that the office of Prime Minister is yours for the rest of your life? What is wrong with regime change in a democracy? People only have problem with regime change in a totalitarian country, in a dictatorship. They have problems with regime change. But what is wrong with regime change? In fact, if you're a good leader, from what I've learned from the Dr. Samuel Chans of this world, the John Maxwells of this world, and so on, if you're a good leader, you encourage change. You encourage people who are outliers. You encourage people who think out of the box. If you are a good leader. But Mr. Skerrit thinks that he has everything, all the ideas there, and he thinks he has all the ideas, telling the nation that he will decide what the laws in the electoral reform regulation says. I mean, how could you be more of the chart that you are the incumbent? Electoral reform has to be somebody who will replace you. Who will believe that you are ever going to be fair about this when you do not want regime change? You do not want to leave office. You're leaving it for your son, Dimitri. I mean, come on. So I think somehow the Prime Minister needs to look at himself a little bit and understand that you don't cajole respect from people. You earn it. And the Prime Minister has done nothing to earn respect. If you ask me, in my experience, Matt, I have lost respect for Roosevelt Skerrit, not the office of Prime Minister. I have great respect for the office of Prime Minister. I have zero respect for Roosevelt Skerrit as a man. Why? Roosevelt Skerrit as a man opens his mouth every time to speak to the people, and he tells them what he knows. He verily knows to be untrue every time. When somebody does that, can you respect them? Would you really have respect for somebody who does that? I have respect for the Prime Minister's office. So if the office of the Prime Minister is coming to a function, I will do what has to be done. But I do not have respect for Roosevelt Skerrit as a man.
I heard Johnson Boston saying yesterday, very surprisingly, that Roosevelt Skerrit lies. He told a lie.
Blatantly. Mr. Skerrit makes up the lies as he goes along. And I have too many examples to give. I'm running up in one of those days that he and I can meet face to face. I can tell it in the public, on the radio, in an interview, anywhere. I will catalog them like one of the cable TVs in the US does. Get the truth out. Mr. Skerrit does that intentionally, deliberately. He designs it and he spreads it. And that, my friend, is not worthy of respect. It is not worthy of respect. So if Mr. Skerrit wants respect, he must do what I said to him very many years ago. he must be a man, be a real man. Apologize to the public. Tell them, make a mea culpa for those things that he has done, that he knows to be untrue, that he knows to be wrong. And maybe those who know grace will have grace on Mr. Skerrit. And I have no difficulties extending grace to him. But he is deliberate and calculative in doing those things. And it's a shame that Mr. Skerrit sits in the office of Prime Minister and does the things that he does as Prime Minister, and he gets away with it. And that is probably even the greatest embarrassment to the Commonwealth of Dominica, that the Prime Minister, in the office of Prime Minister, is able to get away with all the lies that he does. And you, Matt, and the rest of the media people will let him get away with those lies. And Dominicans will sit down and say nothing when it's done and sign next to it. It's amazing. It's something that I am quite frankly ashamed of being a Dominican, and I'm nobody else. I don't have any other passport. I am Dominican, born, bred, and buttered, and I don't intend to go anywhere else. But it's shameful that the person who sits in the office of the Prime Minister could be doing that repeatedly, and nobody calls him up on it except those he thinks that are against him. And that's why he says he's disrespected. But he has disrespected himself and the office of Prime Minister, unfortunately.
The purpose of electoral reform is to develop and continuously improve an electoral process that is fit for the purpose of free and fair election of government of the people, by the people, for the people.
We have come up based on the consultation with what we believe are the elements to take the Parliament to address the concerns of the population where electoral reform is concerned. And this is what we have presented.
Electoral reform is not what Roosevelt Skerrit decides he needs to normalize corrupt election practices and thereby protect his legacy of stealing elections in Dominica. In July of 2022, after more than 15 years of sustained advocacy for electoral reform, the Caribbean Court of Justice, or highest court, confirmed that we had a tainted electoral process in need of urgent attention. The court said, and I quote, "There remain grave areas of concern about how the process of these 2019 elections were conducted. Future elections in Dominica ought not to proceed with these or similar taints." Skerrit claims the proposed new and revised election laws have the blessing of the organizations he invited to observe the electoral reform consultations.
We have spoken to CARICOM, we have spoken to OECS, we have spoken to the OAS, and in particular the OAS, and we've spoken to the Commonwealth. And they've told us that what we presented appeared to them to be reasonable. And based on their observations at the consultations, that the contents of the draft bills capture the consensus views of those consulted.
In the absence of hearing from the observers themselves, we are unable to believe a word Skerrit says. He's probably lying, as he usually does. The proposed new and revised election laws do not address the critical matter of removing the taints on the electoral process or changing the rules to clear the way for free and fair elections in Dominica. So how could these election observer organizations agree with what Skerrit is bringing to the House? How could they agree? Citizens who are not ordinarily resident in Dominica voting for representation in the Parliament of Dominica is a taint on the electoral process of Dominica. Not having an accurate list of voters who are eligible based on the constitutional requirements of citizenship, age, and residency is a taint on the electoral process of Dominica. A system for electing government in Dominica should not allow for citizens living overseas who are not ordinarily resident in Dominica to be paid to come home to vote to determine the results in constituencies where they do not live and therefore cannot be represented. It is not fair. Voter fraud is a taint on the electoral process. Voting multiple times, voting in the name of the dead, or voting with false identities have no place in our system for electing government. According to the recommendations from the $750,000 electoral reform consultancy of Dennis Byron, the introduction of voter identification cards to persons registered as electors, supported with biometric data, facial recognition, fingerprints, was considered one of the most important reforms by almost everyone. This was regarded as essential to eliminate or minimize a wide variety of fraudulent conduct at elections, including impersonation and multiple voting. That is what the consultant found. And so he made recommendations accordingly. Skerrit wants his own kind of ID card.
I heard, for example, they're talking about fingerprints and all this thing. There's not going to be fingerprints for voter ID card anymore. You don't need a fingerprint for a passport, which has a higher value. How will it violate people's fundamental rights and put all sorts of things in place to deny people the right to vote? No, it's not going to happen.
And he does not want the law to specify the information that should be on the card. He wants to leave it up to the puppet he will appoint as chief elections officer after his new electoral commission bill sets the retirement age for that position at 55. Tampering with ballots, altering vote counts, unlawful recounts, other forms of direct manipulation of the voting process have no place in our system for electing government. Offering money, gifts, or other incentives to voters or election officials in exchange for votes or favorable treatment is wrong and must be removed from our electoral system. The payment of air and sea transportation for voters living overseas and the payment of free entertainment for voters are major crimes that have determined the outcome of elections over the past 20 years. This legislation does not address that. The regulation of election campaign financing is necessary because money cannot be allowed to have controlling influence in our political system such that elections can be determined and or purchased by big money interests or criminal enterprises. Skerrit totally discarded the campaign finance recommendations of the Dennis Byron consultancy, but he says he supports regulation.
Now, the issue of campaign financing, in principle, we support it.
He's lying again. He said campaign finance regulation was about giving political parties money to campaign from the public purse. He had his party advocates repeating the lie throughout the electoral reform consultation and angrily protesting against campaign finance regulation.
But when that was discussed at the CARICOM level and the OECS level, the heads of government, I resided heads of government to sort of see the guidance. There was a view by the heads of government CARICOM, look, this is a matter that should be dealt with from a regional standpoint.
Using state resources such as public funds or government-operated facilities to support a particular candidate or party is wrong and should be eliminated from our system of electing government in Dominica. Skewed or unfair media coverage that disproportionately favors one candidate or party over others, potentially influencing public perception and voting behavior, is a taint on our electoral process. Our system of electing government should be protected from the use of state-sponsored or other threats, violence, or acts of intimidation against voters, candidates, or election officials to influence the election outcome, as happened especially in Salisbury and Marigot during the 2019 elections. Nothing has been done to remove these taints. We, the people, have a duty to oppose and prevent enactment of any new and revised election laws that do not address the need for free and fair elections. And no, Roosevelt Skerrit, this is not about your new romance of 1979.
The whole intention is to see whether they can have regime change. You know, they can have a 1979 situation and government change, and they come into government by default in a surreptitious manner.
Indeed, we have a duty to oppose and to prevent normalization of the formula of unlawful and corrupt electoral conduct that has been engaged to steal elections in Dominica. We fully accept our collective responsibility to ensure free and fair elections, without which, as the CCJ has cautioned, the consequences will include loss of legitimacy, public unrest, and even revolt. You are provoking the people to revolt for their democratic rights. and you need to stop it.
A full review of some of the issues as it relates to electoral reform this week and the way forward. Question still remains as this time. Will we get the true electoral reform that the country needs, huh? Is PM scared running away from giving these reforms? 2:10 is the afternoon time as we continue on the Talk on the Block. Talk to me.
Yes, good afternoon, Matt.
Good
Matt,
afternoon.
there's Duncan Store in all that, Matt. No, hear nothing from Duncan Store. What is he saying? Duncan Store getting paid a stipend, whatever he getting, to do a job, and we are not hearing anything.
Well, I've spoken to some of the electoral commissioners who said they're still reviewing the bills before them. That's all I can tell you, based on my information. They're still reviewing before they say anything, okay?
Matt, and you have Matt, that tape of Roosevelt Skerrit when he was speaking to Mr. Linton. When yes, sir, in 2020, Matt, get it, let the people hear what he said at that time, Matt. Yes, Matt, people need to hear what Skerrit was saying about finance reform. Yeah, how we should have proper financial where election is concerned. Because how they run the election, how much broke they were broke. And they did not, but that thing should change. And today now, you have the opportunity and the privilege to change it. You want to be playing hardball? No, Skerrit, not so. And you, Matt, as a journalist, I think you should be talking to the people in the Caribbean. When they did the electoral process, how was it done? If they have to go through such struggle, especially Antigua, to get proper electoral reform in their country. But speak to the people in the region, please. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Of course, these reports is posted everywhere. It's 2:11 is the afternoon time. Hello, talk to me, yes? Uh-huh.
My beloved brother, blessings to you, sir.
Blessings to you, sir.
Matt, listen to me carefully. I'm not going to ask you how to do your job or nothing. Matt, where are the commissioners?
Where are they?
Are they in Dominica or all of them migrated, Matt?
No, they're there. I've been speaking to them on the telephone sometimes. I just spoke to one yesterday. He said that they're still reviewing, and when they're ready, they will come to the people. So they're still reviewing the bills before them, and they're almost done. So when they're ready, they will come to the people. That's their response, huh?
You're talking about Wayne James and Hillary Shillingford?
And Hillary. I also spoke briefly to Duncan Stowe some days ago.
No, what I'm saying, Matt, let it be on the record. The Lawrences, go with your recording device. Tell them you want an interview with them.
But they would just repeat the same thing because the commissioners here on those you may want to believe are saying that they have not reviewed completely the documents, so they're still reviewing. And when they are ready, I'm talking about Hillary James and of course Hillary Shillingford and Mr. Wayne James, they will come to the public. That is what they're saying for the past few hours, 24, 48 hours.
You're dealing with hundreds of pages of documents, isn't that so?
Hundreds of pages of documents, yes.
So what I'm saying, Matt, let's say you have 500. Give us an update on about 60 this week. I can't tell man what I did not go to school. They tell me they put a mosquito on a fly on a board and they tell me the difference. I say the fly is the mosquito and the mosquito is the fly. So I really don't know nothing, Matt. Even Hillary and Wayne James could come maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, give us a couple of pages on what they conclude, what they understand. An interview with Duncan Stowe on the record. You come, you play it, people comment on what was said, the Lawrences or something, Matt. I refuse to have my ears inclined to the repetitious verbal disposal of garbage by Skerrit. Skerrit is not the commissioner. He's not a member. And coming, I mean, it's your work. But Matt, I refuse. I mean, you played it the first time. It is quite extensive. I listened to it in its entirety. Every time you come to play that piece of garbage again, Matt, I turn off the radio because the insult the man is adding to injury. Already, he does not want to facilitate reform in the true sense. He coming there talking a set of garbage, delusionally confused, convincing himself that, you know, he's the best person to explain. Not Hillary, not Wayne James, not Duncan Stowe. Because guess what? He holds the country purse and he can just abuse the citizens of Dominica. So, Matt, when you're playing that garbage from that man, Matt, I don't listen. But thanks for your services anyway, sir. God bless.
And God bless you too. Of course, I guess blessing is your view, not to listen to what you want to listen, but conveniently want to listen to other views as well. Hello, talk to me. You need to put things in perspective sometimes. Hello, talk to me. Yes. So you must listen to the Prime Minister. You must listen to commissioners. You must listen to Pastor Randy Rodney. You need all views before you can make a good determination going forward. Hello, talk to me. Yes. On the telephone 449-3095-96 and 97. Let's go back to the telephone. Are you there? Yes?
Yes, I'm there, Matt.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Matt, you know, I hear Roosevelt Skerritt insulting and disrespecting, but expecting respect. You know, it's not one-sided, Mr. Skerritt. If you disrespect people, you still expect them to respect you because of the office. What about the office of the ordinary citizen? That's also an office. The ordinary citizens need to be respected. And recently, we're hearing you disrespecting and specifically disrespecting the citizens who are supporting you, even by claiming that with the stroke of your pen, you can cancel all these social services. You know, I mean, Mr. Skerritt is gone a little far off the deep end now, you know, Matt, in my opinion. And he is, as many have said, he's taunting the people of Dominica. He's really taunting them to get revolutionary. He's not being fair. He's not coming up with something substantial that will satisfy people. And he seems to be taking charge of areas where it, as far as I understood, would be the domain of the Electoral Commission. And he's saying they cannot direct him. So regardless of what the commission says, they cannot direct Mr. Skerritt, who seems to have taken charge of everything, Matt. I find that a little bit hard to swallow, Matt. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Let's listen to Checo there while we come back and take some more phone calls. Checo on electoral reform. The blessings are, as I said to you before, you need to listen to all views across the board, whether you like it or not. That's how you form a positive and objective opinion going forward, huh?
Dominican. We need our electoral reform. Tell him but call the cabinet. Our money can just go to waste like that. Dominicans spend their money. You should perform your duty. How long before we get our reform? We have some election in the interest of one man. But like Egypt, the people need freedom. If you cannot deliver, then give us back our dollars. Stay in your lane. We know you know our country loves to spend the money, sir. Stay in your lane. The people frustrated and tired. Dominicans have taken all they can take. Give us reform before the fall house break. The people know of full was brigade. Let 29 and blood that was shed. So if you don't deliver for what he said, guy full was Dominicans, Dominicans, we need to fight for what we believe. Enough talking, time for action. We need reform, we need a God. The people pressurizing, they're ready for action. How long before we get our reform? If we vote leaders for society, we could vote for a dead family. And before ballot done count, landslide victory.
2:19 is the afternoon time. Hello, talk to me. Yes?
Matt, I want my weather report.
You want a weather report?
I want to know what I'm this afternoon to know what to do.
Well, I haven't received one just yet. So when it is available, I'll play it for you, okay?
And I support blessing. I don't like to hear scary voice. Thank you.
Well, that's you.
Reform,
like it or not.
We take. The people know a fool was brigade.
To be objective, you have to hear all sides, Lucille. All sides.
So if you don't deliver for what he guy fool was. Oh, Nana, whoa. Stop you got in your magic, you can fool everybody, sir. Stay in your lane. We need the registration for free and fair elections, sir.
Hello, talk to me on the telephone. Yes, good afternoon. Yeah.
Yes, my brother, what's up? What's up?
How you doing? How you doing?
Well, I hear this name and I hear about disrespect. I myself don't know what is disrespect. I really don't know now, because climate change making man change and hurricane making man change. So let me call on the Prime Minister now. Mr. Prime Minister, I've been listening to you on the archive from what Matt is saying. And I think you have no respect at all for me as the average man listening to Q95, DBS, and all other stations. As I said to you, I said you're a coward. You understand what I'm saying? You're a coward. You're sending stones and you're hiding behind the wall. I asked you to come to Q95 to meet Matt so the people can speak to you. Because what is happening in my ghetto and every ghetto I go now, I see guys even want to beat me. For what? For speaking the truth and the word. When you talk about scary, I put a lash. No, that don't happen. So you see what you call me? Instead of come and you like the people, you like the division. And I raise in confusion and poison. But look at me. Look at me warning myself, Mr. Scary. I want you to come, Mr. Scary. Now is the time to do what you have to do, Mr. Scary, is to unite the people. Not when you go to Grenada and you're speaking to people and you're talking about after hurricane, all the people and them should unite, and then you go over there and you go to whatever island. But come and do that in Dominica. In Dominica, you have to do it because why? You are our servants. We are not your servants. You understand? And as a ghetto man, I keep telling you, Mr. Scary, you are making me afraid. But listen to that. Matabasan to him. He said, son, you don't have to fight to be a man. But in the end of the song, he tells you, sometimes you gotta fight to be a man. But walk away from each other. This is very bad, because that's too much nonsense.
All right, okay. Mr. Randy Rodney says, yo, let's give the people their reform. Let's give the people their reform, right?
Don't care who wins. Once it is passed and we submit to it, let the best man win. But the reason why they front the legislation is because they know when it's fair, they cannot win. Why we need all you? Can I get an yes? Now let me get down again. I want you to go home safe tonight. But this is the house of the people. All of you understand? So I'm going to move the resolution, Mr. Chairman. If all of you agree with all the pieces of legislation that I just passed and announce to you, all of you lift your hand and say, yeah, because everybody eyes of it. The bill have been passed.
All right, let's go back to the telephone here. More telephone calls are coming in the afternoon. This is a talk on the block. Hello, yes? Mm-hmm.
Talk on the block, Matt. What's up?
How you doing, my brother? How you doing?
I'm good. Isaac Baptist from Castle.
Yes, sir.
Matt, I listened to the Prime Minister statement. There are many things that he said there, but I would like to focus on one particular thing he said. To the point that he's making that in 1979, the reason why we had the problems in the country was because the people were seeking regime change. The Prime Minister should know the problem in 1979 was because of a stubborn government, a government that would not listen to the people like he's now doing, and that the people got fed up at a point. Yes, the unions had a role to play. Yes, the politicians had a role to play, but it was the people in general that led to 79 and the hard-headedness of the government. I was standing next to the Treasury in 1979. A couple of years after the problems, I think Lennox on the Church painted a mural on the Treasury, facade of the Treasury facing the government building. And I saw the bullet holes in that, on the Treasury walls there on the facade. And I told myself, really, the defense forces were not aiming to kill people. Because I was standing there, and the person who died in 79, I don't think he died because of the defense forces. They were trying to frighten the people, because they were able, I know many of them, and I know they could have shot me dead and others dead if they wanted to. the government of Dominica has spent thousands of dollars on the issue of electoral reform for many years. Observers came to give the opinion. The present Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, gave her advice. The CCJ cautioned the government. The government took hundreds of thousands of dollars from the Treasury to pay a very eminent a lawyer or jurist to advise. At the time, I was president of the United Workers' Party. I received a letter from Mr. Byron. At the time, as soon as Mr. Prime Minister received that letter, informing him that the report was ready for submission, the Prime Minister called a snap election. It was a fast. He can say what he wants. I believe that is what caused him, because he saw the recommendations and was about it. He received the report. He went around the country. He's governed the government, discussing the report. There were also observers from overseas. We have not seen the reports of the observers, and the comments and conclusions of the persons who participated in the discussion have not been made public to get a feel of what was the conclusion. I was present at one of those things, and I cautioned the Prime Minister that my spirit tells me that he should listen to the people and give the people electoral reform and genuine electoral reform. I told it to him in his face. Right now, we are in a situation where the Prime Minister continues to provoke the people of Dominica on the issue of electoral reform. And we have long passed the conditions Dominica was in 1979. And the Prime Minister needs to be aware of that fact. I wish to have a call and ask the people like the Bar Association, the DAIC, the Christian Council, the labor unions, particularly the Public Service Union, even the Youth Council, and the Nurses and Teachers Association, the Police Welfare Association. You do not have to take sides,
But I would like to urge you all to put out a statement out there on the issue of electoral reform, cautioning the Prime Minister to listen to the people.
Are you convinced, Mr. Baptist, that the Prime Minister wants electoral reform?
I was about to say, I personally, I have resolved within myself, I believe the Prime Minister has resolved within himself that he is not going to leave office by the ballot box. This is what I, as a Baptist, personally think that he has resolved within himself. And when he takes that position, Dominican will do what they have to do. Mr. Prime Minister, you are being cautioned. You have provoked the people. And when people are provoked to a level, they have a legal right to protect themselves. If it was your property and people were provoking you on your property, you have a legal right to protect your property. The Dominicans have a legal right to protect Dominica, which is their property, our property. Listen to advice, Mr. Prime Minister. Please listen. Good afternoon, man.
Interesting. 449-3095-9697. 2:30 is the afternoon time. We have a few more minutes here on the Talk on the Block. We have a few, one or two stops, and we'll, of course, come back. 449-3095. The people want reform. Mr. Prime Minister, listen. Listen to the voices.
We don't care who wins. Once it is found and we submit to it, let the best man win. But the reason why they break the legislation is because they know when it's here, they cannot win. That's why we did all you can get and yes. Now, let me tell you now again. I want you to go home safe tonight. But this is the house of the people. All of you understand? So, I'm going to move the resolution, Mr. Chairman. If all of you agree with all the pieces of legislation that I just passed and announce to you, all of you lift your hand and say, yeah. Let everybody eyes of it.
PM, listen to the people. Another appeal to listen to the people. Hello, talk. The people want their reform. Hello, talk to me. Yes, good afternoon to
Let
you.
me just say quickly, Matt.
Yes,
Matt,
sir.
let me advise Pastor Rodney and the Electoral Reform Coalition. Matt, you cannot go much to Parliament area on the day they're planning to go to Parliament to violate the people. Matt, 3-4 days prior and the day they are going there. It can be 15 people you go there with, Matt. You stay there for hours with your placard, with your bullhorns, you make noise. It cannot be on the day. And Matt, I clearly stated to you, and I'll tell it to Pastor Rodney, and I'll say it again next week, Jah willing, what I just told you. Matt, I told you I listen attentively, Matt. Although quite laborious and knowing the man does not know what he's talking about, he just inciting more violence. I listen, but I refuse to have my ears inclined to that repetitious disposal of verbal garbage. And I'm not telling you not to do it. I've tried that, Matt. I know I can control your program, but really and truly, Matt, can you please suggest to Wayne James or Hillary? Can they give us a ball by ball comment?
I have tried, Blessings. I have tried. You can tell them, you can ask them, I have tried. But they refuse to come without completing the entire bill before them, okay?
If the report is that extensive, Matt, when you complete it, how many programs you need to explain it? It doesn't cut.
I guess they just want to put everything in perspective before they present it, Blessings. That's just what it is. If you're giving a report on a book, you don't have to give all the pages, but you give the perspective, and then you try to make sense out of everything. Do you understand?
For the correction, because I don't know better. It's not my fault. I'm just speculating and suggesting. Sorry.
No problem, Blessing. No problem. If you're reviewing a book, you don't give all the pages. You give the main points. Hello, 233. Hello, talk to me. Yes. 449-309. And I know I've spoken to Wayne. I've spoken to Hillary. They are convinced that they want to complete the entire document and review and give. I know everybody's anxious about it, But that's just what the position is. I can't change that. 449, I've tried on many occasions, but we have to wait and be patient. 2:34 is the afternoon time on radio. Again, the people wants reform, Mr. Prime Minister. Listen to the voices again.
We don't care who wins. Once it is passed and we submit to it, let the best man win. But the reason why they fight the legislation is because they know when it's there, they cannot win. That's why we need all you. Can I get an yes?
All right, Dominique, it's 2:34. Let's listen to a few voice notes at this time, yeah?
Matt, that cannot be better said. What Lennox just said there. He causing the people to do those things, not people going to do those things off the free will. He need to do right because 79 will really become again. But scary, nothing in the bill, all the things you're saying there is lie. So why would we agree with what you're saying? So you're saying the first thing you have to agree, and then we have to say something that we don't agree. What kind of nonsense is that about? Matt, I agree, blessing, man. Scared have no right to be here talking the nonsense there, man. Should be one of them fellas. Literal commissioners. Not scared. We're scared.
All right, Dominic, let's take a few phone calls. Everybody has their own perspective, huh? Hello, talk to me. 2:35. Hello, talk to me. Yes? Quickly. Are you there, caller? Just a short note because you're not ready to talk. Domlek, I think Lucille was waiting for that announcement. Domlek wishes to inform customers in the following areas that their electricity supply will be interrupted today, Friday, 12 July 2024, from 3:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Lower Monbros Road, Lower Center Street, Bath Road between junctions of High Street and Victoria Street, High Street, Cornwall Street, Glover Lane, Victoria Street, Newtown, Charlotte Valley, and Citronet. These interruptions is necessary for load management purposes. Dominic appreciates your understanding in this matter and regrets any inconvenience caused. Again, let's have the announcement again. Dominic wishes to inform customers in the following areas of the electricity supply will be interrupted today, Friday the 12th of July 2024 from 3:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Lower Monbros Road, Lower Center Street, Bath Road between junctions of High Street and Victoria Street, High Street, Cornwall Street, Glover Lane, Victoria Street, Newtown, Charlotte Valley, and Citronet. This interruption is necessary for load management purposes. Dominic appreciates your understanding in this matter and regrets any inconvenience caused. So, Lucille, I did not see Bath State there. Okay, 449-3095-96. I know you've been waiting all day for the announcement. Talk to me, yes?
Who are the people, Matt? Who are the people?
My brother, if you don't know who are the people right now, you should go under your bed. 449-3095-96 and 97. Hello, talk to me on the telephone. 449-3095-96 and 97. Okay? We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back. 449-3095-96 and 7. Let's go back to this. I think we have another quick break. A little issue there with, of course, what's going on here. Computer issues. Let's see if we can deal with this. Let's take a little of Checo. Let's do this one. Computer is slow here this afternoon.
Dominicans, we need our electoral reform. Tell them but call the cabinet. Our money can just go to waste like that. Dominicans spend your money. You should perform your duty. How long before we get our reform? We have some election in the interest of one man. But like Egypt, the people need freedom. If you cannot deliver, then give us back our dollars. Stay in your lane. We know you know our country, love to spend the money, sir. Stay in your lane. The people frustrated and tired. Dominicans have taken all they can take. Give us reform before the fall house break. The people know a fool was brigade. Let 29 and blood that was shed. So if you don't deliver for what he said, that fool was oh, na na, Dominican, Dominicans, we need to fight for what we believe. Enough talking, time for action. We need reform, we need a vote and God. The people pressurizing, they're ready for action. How long before we get our reform? If we would leave out for the ID, we could vote for a death family. And before ballot done count, landslide victory. The election legacy convince everybody, sir. Stay in your lane. We hear you write a report to Annie Palliser, boy. Stay in your lane. The people frustrated and tired. Dominicans have taken all they can take. Give us reform before reform we take.
Hello, yes, good afternoon. On the telephone, yes? How are you doing, sir? How are you?
Giving thanks. What about you?
Okay, for now.
Matt, I want you to tell me one peaceful revolution resistance or revolution that has been successful. I mean, where your rights are being denied, violated, no dictator, oppressor, or slave master will just give it back to you. Not by just asking. You have to stand up, you have to rise up, you have to take it back, and you have to do so by any means possible. Freedom will never be given to you upon demand. Only through struggle, sweat, blood, and sacrifice. You have to fight for it, die for it if need be. Otherwise, slaves and servants and beggars you will be. You will forever be. Leaders of my homeland, people of Dominica, listen here. You won't be the first to get tear gas, beaten, thrown in jail. All the great leaders have gone through that. So please wake up. Stop being afraid. With the Creator before us, let us move on. All the talking have gotten us nowhere. This is the time to stand to redeem Dominica for the people who are here and for future generations. That is my little take. I just want to
that's a 10 pence on that one there. Yes? You're all right. Yes. Okay. Caller, thank you very much. Let's wrap it up with this one this afternoon there. Let's take a phone call and we'll wrap it up because we have some guests to speak about the new program on Monday night. But stick around. Let's take another phone call quickly.
St. Vincent, those people fighting for their rights, throwing the barricades on the road and making noise. They say enough is enough. Dominicans must do that. Thank you, man.
Well, based on what I heard there in terms of the people's reform, it appears that the people want electoral reform. Let's listen to a little from Eric Donaldson there. Freedom Streets. Let's do it. The discussion, I'm sure, will continue next week on electoral reform. This is Q905. You can join me again tomorrow for your favorite program on a Saturday morning. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking to Dr. Peter St. Jean, who's the host of the big program coming up on Monday night.
Let me be. Misery. What you see?
Freedom Street. We're walking down Freedom Street.
Freedom Street. Freedom Street. My head. I want to.
Join us every Monday, beginning July 15th, 2024, for our new radio show entitled Peaceology State.
The vision of Peaceology State is to increase involvements and help improve conditions of peace on individual, family, group, community, national, regional, international, and other levels.
The show will be hosted by founder of Peaceology and the world's first peaceologist, Dr. Peter K.B. St. Jean.
Co-hosted by his daughter, university journalism student Patrice K.B. St. Jean.
Dr. St. Jean defines peaceology as the science and practice of low stress and high joy.
Peaceology State seeks to increase experiences of low stress and high joy among as many people as possible. Again, join us every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Caribbean Time on Q95 Radio, the big station.
All right, Dominic, as I said, we have with us in studios this afternoon for the next few minutes before we wrap up on the Talk on the Block, Dr. Peter St. Jean, who is the host, along with his daughter. She's here too to speak about the new program, the big program coming up on Monday. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, world. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you as well. I'll say good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. How are you?
This is a new journalism student, the journalism student.
Patrice K.B. St. Jean. This is her. She can tell them who you are, Patrice.
Patrice, tell us who you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm Patrice. I am an incoming sophomore or second year at university, and I'm a journalism and sociology major with a minor in Black Studies, and I'm excited to be here.
You're excited to be here, huh? How is the journalism studies thus far?
Oh, it's amazing. Right now, I'm specifically doing like marketing and advertising, but I've also done some things with radio, audio, video, things like that. It's really fun. And it's like an interesting way to get to understand society, you know?
All right. And you chose to join your dad to co-host that program. Very interesting.
Yes.
All right. So, Mr. Peter St. Jean, Doctor, should I say doctor? Should I refer to you as Mr.? Which one?
No, Mr. Just call me Peter. Or
Peter.
If you have to give me a title, give me doctor because I've earned it. Otherwise, Mr. I'm saying an old man.
So tell me what's a big program about, where this idea came from, and going forward.
Well, the truth, Matt, is that Peaceology State is really a combination of all of the work we've been doing over the last 30 years.
Many years.
I remember you on doing TV news,
Mapping
news, back in 1995, 96, and so on. So basically, all of the work we've been doing for those decades, it has evolved into something we want to share to the world.
Okay.
I mean, I've used Peaceology to heal myself and to help build myself as a person, being a classified level military operative, being a criminologist, sociologist, dealing with death and carnage on so many levels, and with me, I'm going beyond being a sociologist, criminologist, being a therapist, and now being a business scientist. I have used this thing to create Peaceology that I define as the science and practice of low stress and high joy. Matt, one of the things that happens is that when we are trailblazers in doing what we do, very seldom do we do enough to prepare the next generation, right? Because any good leader, the first thing any good leader should do is to prepare for succession, right? Because somewhere we're gonna die. Either we're gonna end, whether we die there or we're gonna end otherwise. So, and I remember when we spoke so much about Fedayeen in Frampton, that one of the things we wonder is, how is our work going to carry on? I mean, Rasmo passed on, a lot of people will pass on. How are we, the legacies that we're creating, the efforts we're making, how are we preparing the young people to move forward? And I think the Peaceology story entails a lot of Patrice's own reality, because she grew up with this, and at age 6, I brought her on TV on a TV show.
She was a big star before.
And I'm learning so much from her, and she's the expert now in this. So I get to learn from her, and we get to share with the world, how can we live in a world with low stress and high joy on different levels.
Break it down for us. Low stress and high joy. Maybe an understanding.
Yes.
Let the normal man understand what we're talking about.
Right. Matt, a lot of people have all kinds of problems, relationships with themselves, relationship with their family, relationship with friends, and so on. And a lot of times, sometimes we succeed and sometimes we fail.
Okay.
From a lot of my research as a social scientist, I've realized that a lot of times when people fail in the things that they want to really do, they find themselves, or they get put in situations of high stress and low joy.
Okay.
That means you have a lot of pressure on your life and you're not really enjoying life that much. Either you're doing mischief to yourself or other people doing to you, a little bit of both, right? And a lot of times, and so that's a lot of stress. Stress causes all kinds of problems. We can talk about it. My wife, who's here in studio for us, is a medical doctor. She can tell us a lot about what happens with stress, right? So very high stress and very low joy are kind of almost toxic mixes. I mean, you remember when we were in the studio, you talk about the cardinal sin, don't let it be, have no silence on the radio. There are some almost cardinal sins in our lives too. And the high stress and low joy, that's a toxic mix. And what I found is a lot of people who have been able to rise and make their relationships with themselves, with their families, with their friends, with the community, with the organizations better, they find ways to function in ways that are low stress and high joy. And although they don't say that's what it is, but it creates a certain kind of chemistry to allow us to function at the optimum. So that's what
let me allow, of course, your daughter to her own interpretation of high stress and low joy, yeah. Huh?
Well, low joy.
Yes.
Low joy, high stress.
Low stress, high joy.
You see, that's why I need her. That's why I need her.
Break it down, in a way that the younger people can understand.
Well, honestly, there's so many things that can stress a young person out, such as school, such as family issues, relationships, and things like that. But I think the way Peaceology has come into my life and many other young people is remembering that things like this happen, but it's important as we're growing older, as we're getting younger, what type of ways can we find happiness in the stressful situations that we're in? How can we bring peace towards ourselves, towards our family members, and others around us? How can we spread that joy so that other people are less stressful and are able to enjoy themselves, even if they're in an unfavorable situation?
Wow. So it's going to be a big program, because I'm sure the younger people will tune into views like this.
Yes, and the younger people, and we say young is until you die, right? Even when you die, you're still young.
You're as young as you feel.
Yes. So we have, but certainly the youth, Patrice is 19 years old, and people within her age group and others. The truth is that we do not need a perfect life and a perfect situation for us to be able to function well. And that's what Patrice is saying. Like, even in a high stress situation, or a situation that seems oppressing to us, we can find ways to live better, and Peaceology helps us find ways to do that.
All right. Is there any focus you're going to place on Monday's program, or just an introduction?
Well, the first show is going to be introducing our team, Patrice and I, and my wife, and Dr. Zarian St. Jean, Sergio, his son, and Priya, Michelle, and even our daughter will probably call in. The main thing is to introduce the world to Pisology, where it came from and where it is now, and introduce our team, and of course introduce our sponsors. The sponsors could do the 245-8655. They can still call, because I'm going to give some shout out to some businesses we believe that we have experience that show low stress and high joy. We want to talk about that and give callers an opportunity. The first half will it's a 2-hour show. So, and even in the spirit of Fedina, who really brought joy to people's lives and tried to really create a world where we can live to our maximum, we want to carry on that spirit, even if it's not in the spotlight. It's really a different show. It's about Pisology State. So the first half, we'll be talking about the history of Pisology, a little bit about what Pisology is about, to open up the second half for callers to interact with us and to make sure we have youth voices up front and other voices represented.
Patrice, what do you think? Why do you think younger people should listen or lock into this show on Monday?
There's so much time that we have, but once we get older, you realize that once you have a certain mindset, it's harder to grow from it. But I think as we're young, that's when you really stabilize on languages and practices and things like that. And Pisology State is one that's really helped me throughout college. I know I can say that with family, how to handle my own emotions and things like that. And I did want to say a little bit something about the sponsors.
Yes.
Think of it as you're a part of Pisology State. Pisology State or Pisology is not only about the individual, but also about community. And so when you are sponsoring Pisology State, you're also sponsoring and believing in something in the youth, you can say, for example, in ways that you can think and such like that. Do you agree, Daddy?
Oh, yes, by all means. It's a demonstration of who we are, what we representative and what we represent. And we believe that the private sector and private individuals have a very big role to play in making our world a more peaceful place by creating low stress and high joy. We want sponsors to come aboard and really sign up to show their voice and that they support this type of world.
Let's go back and rewind the tape a bit there. When you started that journey, how much you think you have achieved through that Pisology?
Well, it's beyond my own imagination. I mean, we have 18 acres, 17.998 acres of land in Trafalgar where we're building Pisology Acres. We'll be
it's called Pisology Acres.
Pisology Acres. We'll be launching soon our own ride share, which is like something like Uber and Lyft, but that type of version, and our own social media platform. So the Lord has really blessed us beyond what we have imagined. And we believe that every day, even the show came to be because so many people said, Doc, we want to hear more of your voice and certain things and so that. So I think we've come a long way. I myself have come a very long way. I've had to heal myself from the traumas that I've experienced as a person that has been involved with seeing so much carnage. And I'm still in the process of healing because even as I healed from yesterday, something today, I have to have a medicine to heal for today. Okay. So that is part of what we want to teach people to do. So it's come a long way. And Pisology is the first approach, I believe, of its type that mixes social science, clinical mental health, and business, and creates an economy of peace, and has Dominica, Nature Isle, Trafalgar, where I'm from, all of the Trafalgar folks, Roseau Valley folks. This is kind of our gift to the world. And that's why I say it's not about me, it's about us, because there's so much, all of these decades of work we have done together. This is something I believe we have to share to the world.
It was actually birthed by you. Why did you come up with that term, though?
Well, Pisology, there are other words I thought about, but ology means the science of.
Yeah.
And when I grew up as a little boy in Trafalgar, after I swept the yard and go by the waterfalls, I would be under the falls, and so many young people, so many elder people would tell me, I said, more DK Benny and things like that. And I went under the falls, I'm feeling this peace, in the river, I'm feeling this peace. I felt like everybody needs a taste. Huh? Yeah, everybody needs to have a taste of that somehow. And as I went through life, Trafalgar and Dominica, Roseau Valley area, the whole of Dominica is a place where I've come to help reset myself. And so many people love Dominica in that way. And I think there's more we can do. We can turn the whole economy out of this greatness, this gift we have called Nature Isle.
Can you connect it with the criminology that you've been doing in Dominica in terms of how you connect?
Yes, well, I've kind of evolved from criminology in a way. Criminology is a part of Pisology because criminology is a scientific study of crime and criminal behavior.
Right.
But it turns out that it doesn't really give us as much we need about solutions. We understand the problem very well. I had to get into clinical mental health and build Pisology to understand better solutions and to create industry. The same way like violence is an industry, we need to create an industry out of peace. And that is what we're doing in Pisology.
An industry out of peace.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes, that's what we're doing because criminology tells about the problem. It doesn't tell us much about the solution. But Pisology helps us with the solution. So that's why I've kind of added that to the list. I want to have as many as people join us in this effort.
All right, let's kind of wrap it up here because we're all running out of time. Any final comments from you?
No, I feel like everything was said. I'm very thankful for this opportunity.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing you on Monday. You will be here live in studios.
Yes, I will.
All right.
Well, thanks, Matt. Thanks for this opportunity, folks. Listen up, 8 to 10 p.m. on Monday the 15th.
You ready to go?
State. Oh, we're ready to go.
All right, Dominica, you heard it. So tune in Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. right here on the big station.
Join us every Monday, beginning July 15th, 2024, for our new radio show entitled Peaceology State.
The vision of Peaceology State is to increase involvements and help improve conditions of peace on individual, family, group, community, national, regional, international, and other levels.
The show will be hosted by founder of Peaceology and the world's first peaceologist, Dr. Peter K.B. St. Jean.
Co-hosted by his daughter, university journalism student, Patrice K.B. St. Jean.
Dr. St. Jean defines peaceology as the science and practice of low stress and high joy.
Peaceology State seeks to increase experiences of low stress and high joy among as many people as possible. Again, join us every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Caribbean Time on Q95 Radio, the big station.
For you, for you, for you, for you, for you.
In this hot summer, D&D Plumbing is doing it again. It's the Points and Deals Bonanza from June 10th to July 31st. The more you buy, the more points you get, the more discounts you receive. Get to 25 points and you get 10% discount. From 35 to 40 points, you receive 12.5% discount. And from 45 to 50 points, you get 15% discount. The more times you purchase, the more discounts you receive. Come to D&D today and purchase anything store-wide and get your card with 5 points already on it. And the more points you get, the more discounts you receive. And your bonus only for the month of June is the Drain Buster. Get your Drain Buster today and enjoy 10% discount. D&D Plumbing. Terms and conditions apply.
Ride the storms. Ride the storms. Q95.
Making our own show, that's what you don't know. We'll be making our own show. You'll be watching on the TV screen. Listen on the radio. Some say rock would never rise. Break my track and memorize. Summarize and analyze and what you niggas in the eyes. Feeling you a pussy guy, and that's the lie. 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 Any man without a woman will do anything to get one. Any man without a woman will do anything to get one. Any man without a woman will do anything to get one. Any man without a woman will do anything to get one. Jack will make a dollar song for all the devil in the jam. Mumbo, 50, not home. Ring a phone, baby, you're the fool. And she playing like she holy. Holy, holy, take my soul. Give it to me now. Don't give it to me now. Don't give it to me now. Don't give it to me now. It's like a war till it's done down. He gonna damn run. He just a punk, so I give him out to Cameron. Press him like an onion, freeze him like London. He just a pussy, don't know how to put a condom. He say he's a gangster, and he never bust gun. Boy, he's a one-star, and he need to stop from. Stop every hater, and you need to stop run. He went to line up shit, but he never knocked none. Blind day, Moto, from Kennyville, to Maho, from Bossy, back to St. Joe. People your boss, still run the show. Don't make me play by Malcasse. Come on, don't make me play by Malcasse. Come on, make me play by Malcasse. Come on, don't make me play by Malcasse. Come on. Check, 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 check. All the old school masters we don't know. All the real Sabantan fans. Them bless their woman like a hobby. Some like them cute, and some like them ugly. Some like them big, and some like them sexy. Touchy person giant, you get just like Bobby. Real beautiful, I like them that way. Don't say, don't take them back way. Please say, don't go in this and touch your battery. Put no grand day, check me in the line. I not in that. Better you in that. I not in that. What are you in that? I not in that. What are you in that? I not in that. What? I not in that. What are you in that? I not in that. Feel you in that? I not in that. That's you in that? I not in that. What? Man checking man, I not in that. Woman checking woman, lesbian, I not in that. The police information up on man, I not in that. Push my thing in any hole with a condom, I not in that. What? Man checking man, I not in that. Woman checking woman, lesbian, I not in that. The police information up on man, I not in that. Push my thing in any hole with a condom, I not in that. One woman I have, you know yourself, girl. One woman I have, you know yourself, girl. One woman I have, you know yourself, girl. One woman I have, you know yourself, girl.
It's that you lie.
Stop calling my name, girl.
It's that you lie.
Stop calling my name, girl.
It's that you lie.
Stop calling my name, girl.
It's that you lie.
I love the game, girl. Silly you in that. I not in that. You tell you in that. I not in that. Michael you in that. I not in that. Mikey you in that. I not in that. What? Mystic you in that. I not in that. Static you in that. I not in that. Andrick you in that. I not in that. Master you in that. I not in that. What? That's a fun of the hit that no. It's motor like she like 350, 250. What change it up now? Change it up now. You don't like me, I don't like you too. You cannot stand me, I can't stand you too. You don't like me, I don't like you too. You cannot stand me, I can't stand you too. Anyway, move on my way. We ready for a carnival. We look for building up. I love to see the girls start whining. Because you know it. I love it when the girls start whining. Because you know it. This is carnival, this is bacchanal, this is on the street, this is survival. You could check the airport in the terminal. Over 30,000 people arrival. If you're looking for me, I will be in VA. Check me in Miami, you look for the body. Not in the carnival, I'll be in the UK. Everybody, are you? I love to see the girls start whining. Because you so down, down, yeah, down, down, yeah, I'm doing it for the ladies. Feel the rhythm in your sexy costume. We drinking and we that smoking and the rhythm all way. Wow, turn it up. Everybody read it. Look for 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 it. All the authority. Oh, we know. Now it was Shubé and August Monday. Festival in VA. We go back the whole day. To technology, you protect somebody. And to psychology, to create a petty party. And no apology for rubbing my body. But I do no autopsy, just like me a biography. Yeah, yeah. We drinking and we smoking and everybody know. We know. Shut down the whole place under pressure. Turn off the music now. You are people. Under pressure. You think under pressure. Over the body under pressure. Everybody under pressure. You want to do that wrong? You want to make that move? You want to go and talk? No, bring up and down. Why you think? We haven't seen this. pressure. Yeah, cause we know that we under pressure. Pressure, under pressure. Under pressure. We under pressure. We under pressure. Hey, everybody wants to know why the woman healthy so people see from left to right and the woman well alright the cold. No, she doesn't get that. Allergies, no, she doesn't get that. Cause when she bend, I just drill. I give her the bend and drill. Give it to her, give it to her, give it to her. Cause when she bend, I just drill. I give her the bend and drill. Give it to her, give it to her, give it to her. Okay, make them for the bend and drill. Anytime you feeling ill, make them for the bend and drill. Baby, make them for the bend and drill. Anytime you feeling ill, make them for the bend and drill. They say it coming. The body rich, the bed is still rich, it's coming. The body rich, the bed is still rich. So working, I want I'm all working. I'm no working, I was always working. Yeah, bend and drill working. Yeah, and she love the feeling. Like it's the violin. From morning to evening, so when she bend, I just drill. I give her the bend and drill. Give it to her, give it to her, give it to her. Just when she bend, I just drill. I give her the bend and drill. Give it to her, give it to her, give it to her. Baby, make the body bend and drill. Anytime you feeling ill.